My name is Magdalena Valderrama, and I'm the co-organizer for this event. We had a panel here this morning about the Firewise communities, and as some of you know, Firewise communities also helps you to get insurance discounts. But we wanted to focus specifically on insurance, not what Firewise communities can do for you. There are things to know about wildfire, especially if you are a landowner or a homeowner and you have renters. There's things to know about wildfire insurance if you're a renter. So we hope to answer a lot of those different questions, both from the perspective of the consumer advocacy organization called United Policyholders. We became acquainted with United Policyholders during the Valley Fire ourselves when we lost our homes. And they've been a fantastic organization from the get-go, especially here in Lake County. There have been a number of folks who have tried to copy what they do, but they still stand out as knowing exactly who they are and how much they can do with us. I can also tell you that our supervisor, Jessica Feisman, has been working with folks like the United Policyholders, going all the way up to Washington to try and get people to pay attention to this issue. We also have, so this is Annie Barbour, and then we also have from Farmers Insurance, Patrick Lambert, some of you may already know, and he will be able to talk to you about the perspective of making the most of your insurance. Because there are things that I learned, and I keep learning. If you're not paying close enough attention, you're not doing your financial planning. Insurance is a very important part of that. So, without too much further ado, I think Annie, you have a presentation, and then we'll have Patrick speak, and then we'll be able to answer questions.
Yeah. So, if you could grab that paperwork there and hand it back. There's a gentleman back there that does not have it as of yet.
Yeah. Oh, and while Annie's preparing, I know that the topics, I would like to be in that place to listen to what the speakers are saying. I've had other people come and wanting to hear other things, so we're recording everything, and we will be sending the links out, so you don't have to miss anything.
Thank you.
And the really great part about that is that even in this webinar, which is not the sexiest webinar, in this presentation, which is not the sexiest, there's things that you might want to look back on, quite frankly. So the way I do my presentations is I do it kind of like a curriculum so that you can make notes and write to the things that pertain mostly to you. And the first thing I'm going to explain to you is the basic policy. An HO3, which is Farmers State Farm policy. And I'm going to explain to you what those buckets of money mean and what you can charge to them. Because I was in the 2017 Tubbs fire, I had no clue what I could charge to the buckets. And I don't know how else you know if you're properly insured without knowing what you can charge. So this is a mock policy. It's not up to today's standards, but under dwelling, there's $300,000. This policy has replacement value. Very important for everybody to have some replacement value in your policy. Generally, they're 25 to 50%. If this policy is 25%, we add that to the dwelling. It makes it $400,000. You divide that out by your square footage, and that's what you have to rebuild per square foot. In LA right now, the minimum they're coming up with is about $400 a square foot. You guys are rural. Things have to be trucked in. You know, we don't give you limits. We just kind of advise you as to what some of the challenges will be. Your next bucket is other structures.
What is the average square footage today in Lake County?
I think it's 400. I think it's 400 square foot. That's what we use in my office. And that's minimum.
Yeah, it's where you start. So other structures are your fences, your decks if they're not attached, your sheds, and your garage if it's not attached. So you want to make sure that that's been recorded properly, because that number needs to be much bigger if it's a garage that has to be replaced under other structures. Your personal property is really basic, right? You take your house, you flip it upside down, you shake it. Everything that falls out is your personal property. We don't live in model homes. We wish we did. You need to take your phone, you need to open every cupboard, every drawer, every box. You have to move crap off the floor to get to the crap that's underneath it. You want to videotape all that. For all of you that have been through the Valley Fire, that is your bone of contention. That is the hardest thing you will have to do. And quite frankly, you're going to want to capture every penny that you can in that bucket, because more than likely, you'll have to use some of that to rebuild your house. If you have unique items, artwork, and antiques, make sure you get a really good picture of them, because they cannot be depreciated. I was waiting for you to come up with that name. That word.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I can help you out here.
Do you have to have proof of the artwork, receipt of the artwork, artist, and a cost before the fire?
Well, in a perfect world, that's what you would have. We don't live in a perfect world. After my fire in 2017, they asked for receipts. And every fire, they ask for receipts. And the tough part is, your house is a total loss usually, and your receipts are gone. So, but if you have something that has a lot of value, you get appraisal on it, you have pictures, put it somewhere in someone else's home so you can make sure you capture that.
Well, also, I'll add for you.
Yep.
Nowadays with cameras and cell phones, everything gets stored online. Okay, it is so easy you lose everything. It's so easy to restore that stuff from the cloud.
Yeah.
So
2-3 different clouds at least.
okay.
I do.
No, that was gonna be my comment. We had St. Ross House in the Valley Fire, but we had saved all our documents in Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
That's survived because the kids
Yep.
left the backup drive, but took the other portable computer that had nothing on it. So Dropbox was huge and got us right back into it.
Perfect. And while you're at it, scan all your photos, please. That's the one thing you'll miss if you do lose everything. So your loss of use in a conventional policy will cover up to 2 years of you being out of your home. So it doesn't cover your mortgage, it covers rent someplace else, which will be elevated because of supply and demand. You can rent your contents, which gets to be pretty pricey. In LA, that's about $2,000 a month now. Some people do a rent to own, so that they actually own the TV or the love seat afterwards. And in a declared disaster, you have up to 36 months. The way it's legally written is 24 plus 6 plus 6. But it's extended because they recognize that a greater loss takes more time for everybody to recover. So you want to take that number on there and you want to divide it out by 36, which is your worst case scenario, and see what you would have a month to pay for your rent, to pay for renting contents. There's mileage.
Like renting furniture, hotels.
Yeah.
Extra food is cost.
Yep,
Eating
mileage.
out in restaurants.
If you're 10 miles away from your work, your schools, your daily life, you can put that in there. And then every company has different things that they'll okay. I had farmers during my loss and they were great. I asked them to pay for an electronic fence because I moved in with my guy and he didn't have fences. And they said, no problem, you had a fence at your other house. So it's duplicating what you had. They will put some caveats on all of it. They'll say no on some things. We don't ask once. We politely ask 2, 3, 4 times. Okay? Now, the next page will kind of reinforce what I covered to kind of jar your memories. There are 4 types of insurance that we educate people about now. One we never used to have to. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Let me compare it to, so you have this page that compares it to the California Fair Plan. That should be my next stop. If you're on the California Fair Plan, you don't have all those buckets. And the right-hand side shows you what an HO3 policy, which is a basic policy, has on it. California Fair Plan out of the box is simply fire insurance. And it's not personal property. It's not, their loss of use is their fair rental value. So you have to create that policy. Code upgrades, which brings your house from the year it was built to today's code standards that you cannot build without. That has to be added. If you're overinsured on your dwelling, you still cannot use that money with most policies for code upgrades. That will come out of your pocket if you don't have that coverage. And it can add up quick. 1970s, 1,500 square foot home, 2018 rebuild, that was $68,000. Now it would be much closer to $90,000, I believe, with solar and electric car hookup. And those are just required. So when you capture a wonderful California Fair Plan policy, you have to determine what buckets you're going to add. Are you going to create it so it's just like a regular policy? Can you afford to do that? Which buckets are most important for you to have? I can tell you that if you're having to pick and choose and you have a mortgage or you're retired, fair rental value is going to be huge because paying a mortgage or being on a limited income and then paying rent someplace else is just a killer for survivors to navigate. You just don't have the bandwidth, the financial bandwidth to navigate that. So that would be tops of my list. But this is what you want to discuss with your agent. I've talked to numerous people today who have talked about their wraparound policy, their difference in condition, which is what you get with a California Fair Plan. Many of them think it's going to cover all of these buckets. A difference in condition policy covers liability, water, and theft. It does not cover your personal property. It does not cover your loss of use. So, have that conversation with your insurance agent and make sure that all the questions you have, you write down before, and then follow it up with an email. These were my questions. This is what I heard your answers as. It's really important to capture that and to know that you're getting the right information. 4 main types of insurance. This is what we're kind of dealing with now. We have the admitted, which is Farmers, State Farm, USAA. We have the non-admitted, Lloyd's of London.
Scottsdale.
We have, what'd you say?
Scottsdale is one of them.
Scottsdale. We have the Fair Plan, or the CEA for
Earthquake.
you don't have this paper, I'm sorry. We haven't copyrighted it yet. This is something I printed up, and she's like, we have to copyright it first. And then we have the forced or the lender-placed policy. And I'm going to tell you that in LA, we're finding a lot of people with the forced placed policy. And when you get that policy, it means that you got a letter from your insurer that said, due to the fact that you did not show us proof of insurance, we have placed a policy on your mortgage. It only covers your mortgage. It does not cover the equity in your home. It does not cover your personal property or your loss of use. So you need to be really aware of that that's a red flag that you need to find your own policy. So they're not calling your mortgage in. They're just putting insurance on your policy that you're paying, on your mortgage that you're paying for, but there's no benefit to you.
So it's like a PMI.
Yes, yes.
I have one question. I own my house completely. I don't have a mortgage.
Right.
So how about the people who do not have mortgages, own everything?
So so you own your home, that's your biggest asset probably, that
Right,
you have.
right.
So you want to make sure you secure that. Because I don't think you want to go back to work, do you?
I wouldn't want to be with anybody who would hire.
You know, in this market, you would probably be very hireable because you're not looking at your phone all the time. So you want to make sure you're properly insured. Because you want, whether you rebuild or not, you can capture that money, most of it, and you can go buy someplace else, or you can just rent. You may not want to spend 3 to 5 years rebuilding, but you don't want to lose your equity in that home either. Okay, so the insurance is not required for you, but I highly recommend you maintain it. Okay?
Yes, I imagine that insurance companies have kind of gotten together and, what's the word I'm looking for? That everybody's on the, sort of the same playing field when it comes to settlement of claims once we've lost your home. We lost our home in the Valley Fire. And I think many representatives at that time didn't really know how to deal with what was going on, ours being one of them. So I ended up hiring a public adjuster and was thrilled that I did that because they claimed the money that we deserved coming to us that we wouldn't have been able to advocate on our own.
Absolutely.
And so I'm wondering, how do you, your organization, and public adjusters intersect? Do you intersect? Are you kind of the same entity, or?
We're not. We give people the tools to navigate their own insurance. We don't work their policies. We simply give them the education, step by step.
Can I say something? Because what you just said bothers me sometimes because I hear this from people. Half those guys are ambulance chasers, okay? And they're taking money that you could have gotten without them if it was done properly. But let me finish, I'll tell you.
I have something to counter
Okay,
that.
no, that's why it's not counter. You can, but it's not that. The thing is, if you have an agent that is competent, they're the ones that should be fighting for you.
Right.
And if you don't, that's where the problem is.
Well, guess what? I have one now.
You do? I know.
So what I wanted to say was, I didn't.
Yeah, no, and that's the difference.
I blamed a good percentage, but not of what I would have totally gotten, before they came on board, and they didn't take a penny of what I'd already.
And that's what they're supposed to
Yeah.
not do.
That's what
But-
they did.
But
So
in this
I felt
world,
represented well.
in 10 years since your fire, we are very cautious of public adjusters. That does not mean that we don't recommend them and there's no place here for them, because there definitely is. There's people that get stuck. There's elderly people who can't deal with this. Whatever. There is a role for them in all this.
And there are
most-
good ones out there.
Yes.
I think though, when I get across this, that's not the first answer, and that's why I'm saying that's a last resort. Because
Yes.
I sat there and watched my in-laws' house burn down, and they went the next, stayed in a hotel. The next morning, my father-in-law shows up at his property, and there's a guy sitting in his car in his driveway, just waiting for him, wanting him to sign on, telling him how the insurance company's going to screw him over. He's not going, and I guess that's what I want to get you guys. Don't just think I have to sign on with a public adjuster.
I didn't.
But in general, get
He's
through what
talking
you
to
got to do.
everybody, though.
And if everybody, but if there's problems down the road and you can't remedy it, then maybe consider that. But that's not the first thing you should be doing.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm sorry to hear that was other people's experience.
Yeah.
Because mine was not that way. at
well,
all.
and they're not all bad.
No, they're not all
Believe
that
me,
bad.
we have ones that we work with who do webinars with us and who are very ethical. We can't recommend because we just don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But we would if we could. So it's not like they're all bad. It's just that most people, I think 2/3 are underinsured. And so giving a percentage of your
Oh, I totally
claim
Yeah,
becomes more problematic if you can navigate it on your own.
sure. No, I get that.
Two comments. One, with a rebuild, the county requires sprinklers. So
Yes.
let's say there's a fire the house is intact, but the sprinklers have destroyed the interior contents. How is that insured?
That would be insured through
It's
the,
still fire.
It's
The
a
cause
fire.
of loss
Still
was
fire
fire.
cost.
Cause of fire. And your sprinklers, if they weren't already there, is building code upgrade.
My second question is, when the adjusters came for the Valley Fire, they just said to me, rebuild your house for me. Tell me what your house looked like, tell me the materials. Well, if I wasn't a builder's family member, I wouldn't know that language.
well,
And
Right.
so, for example, I was able to recreate floorboards,
Right.
grids, heater grates, fixtures, everything that you put into a house material-wise, I was able to create for them. And
Right.
your State Farm or farmer's agent doesn't know
Right.
how you built that.
and
No.
part of that too is taking the video. Okay, you're taking a video of your contents, but all throughout your house. You're capturing some of that. And you're absolutely right. What the insurance company pays on is like and kind. That's their words. So you're not going to get a mansion if you had a working class home, right?
Specifically, like if you had a metal roof or you had hardy board
Right.
siding, you have
And
to
they
be able
do
to
that.
note that.
Will they do that interview with you? Yes,
And if
absolutely.
you didn't know what your siding was, you would get the cheapest siding. So you have to be able to, because it's ash, no one knows what it is.
Right, and it depends on where you live. I live in a subdivision, so we had a uniform build for the years, different years that it was built. So, yeah, you do want to know what your house is made of, absolutely. Capture everything, including your garden. If you have special things in your garden, please capture them. The lady behind you.
Yes, I have a similar question, and had the same similar experience that she did. But the way I was able to, and then I bought a used home.
Mhm.
And I was able to get what my home was insured for and I wouldn't have unless I upgraded the home that I purchased and then I got paid for all the improvements I made up to the point that my house was valued at, insured
Yes.
for. What if I had decided not to buy a house or not to rebuild? How do I get the money that my house is insured for?
You would have to do something called a scope of loss in most cases, and where you have a contractor or you have someone who has the ability to do it. Some public adjusters do, some construction analysis do it. It, on average, it's like $7,000 to $10,000, but it's well worth your money, and they recapture every nail, every piece of flooring, and they come up with a figure of what it would cost to replace your home as it was.
And what if I was insured for more than that, or less than that?
Okay, so if you're insured for less, that's what you get. And if you're insured for more, you get what it takes to replace your home like and kind.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is considered attached structure?
Anything that's attached to your home,
A breezeway is an attachment?
yes.
If there's a roof between them, yeah.
So the admitted carriers are Farmers, State Farm, whatever. They are part of the Department of Insurance. They have oversight. They have rules and regulations. The Department of Insurance will go to bat for you if they find that there's an issue, if you file a complaint. They also pay into an insolvency plan so that if they were to go bankrupt, you would get probably not all your money, but about $500,000 hopefully.
Oh, you're on a thought. Go ahead and finish.
The non-admitted or the surplus line, up until maybe 2 years ago, people were selling and it was kind of working. Those are not backed by the Department of Insurance. They don't have an insolvency plan that they pay into. Now those are going up higher, and they're bridging that gap between what you're paying on maybe the California Fair Plan and a regular policy, right? So, but they don't have any oversight by the California Department of Insurance. And then you have the California Fair Plan, which we all know is an unfair plan. We know all the challenges that come with it. We recognize it. I've worked in other states that don't have an insurance of last resort. And I'll take this plan with all of its issues over not having something. We do need to evolve. Hopefully with what Ricardo Laura has put together for his Sustainability Act will actually work, where insurers will be getting to charge us for, right now, historical modeling is passed on to us as consumers. They will now be able to pass on reinsurance costs and historical modeling after the first of the year. How long that will take to actually see some improvement, I don't know. And we don't know how effective it's going to be, but we're hoping and praying. Okay? You can check on the financial stability of your insurance company. There's a site, AM Best, that you can utilize. You do have to sign up for it, or you can Google it. I find that Googling it gives me the same results as AM Best. And if your insurance provider goes below is it a B minus? B.
Yeah, it'd be.
A B, they no longer will accept it as for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. So they're kind of watching out for you also. And every time you talk to your insurance agent, in a perfect world, they're going to send you an email confirming what your conversation was. Please follow up. Good business practice. These were my questions. These are the answers I heard. You want to make sure you have that in writing. There were some people in the Marshall Fire who asked for more coverage, not from farmers, from another company that seems to do this. And the 3 out of the 100 that asked for more coverage had the paper trail. And they were able to take that right to the Department of Insurance and be made whole. So that's huge. You had a...
Yeah, I did. My agent, when my house burned down, it was 5:30 at night when it started. I wasn't home. I got there right away after, so I was there by 6 when it was burning. I called her on the phone. I got a hold of her husband, and she never once, she was out partying with her friends. It was Friday night. She was with her friends. I get it. But she never went to my house once. Never once. And my house is on her way home. She goes from her office down my Thompson Lane where I live, out to her house. Never once did she go to my house. So when I called her, I go, you never even once. She goes, well, you had a video of your house and your kitchen cabinets. So fine. They were black, charred. I didn't even make this video. Water was dripping from the ceiling. It's the next morning. And she goes, no, well, that's up to your adjuster. Your adjuster's got to deal with that. Never once. So choose your agent wisely, folks. And I know you're an agent, but I'm just saying, interview your agent and tell her.
I 100% agree with you. I have
Yeah.
59 total lost homes in the Valley Fire in my agency. I set foot at every single site with
Good
them
for
in the
you.
district, everyone.
My hat's off to you.
Okay, as an agent,
Didn't have
we
to
sit and we take your money day after day, week after week, month after month, don't do a damn thing for you. When you need an agent and you have a claim, your agent better be there for you or they shouldn't be your agent. I mean, that's just,
So I'm going to
That's
intercept
it.
this. This is unique. What we see out there, quite frankly, is the agent is completely taken out of the picture. This is part of small town California and his integrity. So recognize that, because usually the agent is taken out. They don't want personal contact. They don't want that relationship. Adjusters are brought in with no relationship, and the process starts
and
there.
I'll add to that. So because of the Firewise work that I do, every now and then I will get phone calls from people, residents in the area who are looking to understand something about the insurance. And Magdalena, my insurance agent is doing this, that, and the other thing. And if they won't accept a Firewise certificate, and I tell them to change their agent, because I have been in places where the agent would not accept even the manager of the NFPA saying, I'm the manager, this person has the correct certificate for the year that you're looking for. So it does pay to have a good agent.
It does.
What is the certificate?
So when you are a Firewise community, you are designated, your group, your neighborhood, if your neighborhood got together and you got yourself designated as a Firewise community, the person who submitted the paperwork gets the certificate. And that certificate then gets shared amongst all the different residents who need to be able to show that they are living in a Firewise community. They show it to their insurance agent, and then the insurance agent can take it from there.
In our office, we try to keep those on file when we know an area, we've got them. Once we got one for that neighborhood, we can use it for everybody. They're also available online. You can go to the Firewise communities and you can find them on there. Some are a little tricky because of what they call them. It may not be the Cobb Firewise, it's what Creek or Jones Creek or, so it's kind of hard to find some of them, but they're also available that way too.
Yeah, you can't get your certificate online unless you're the leader, because you have to have access to the portal. So that's why I'm calling out the leaders.
We pulled stuff on it, okay.
The other thing I would add to that, just because I know some of us had the same experience with fires at our house burning down, is when it happens to you, you're alone. School's out, man. I was single, I was divorced, I had a rat terrier dog, obviously different than this one. And what happens is, the next morning, you're sitting there and you're looking at the roof of your house. My next morning was rain coming down. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I covered the roof of my house, even though there had 1.5 inch lines in there, spraying water down. And then you're alone, you gotta figure out how am I gonna eat, how am I gonna get income, how am I gonna demo this thing, and so I guess what I'm suggesting here in the insurance industry is that if there was a middle group that comes in and coaches you on how to navigate this process.
That's us.
Because my agent was able.
That's us.
My agent was able, and I just happen to have a bad one.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'm not
No.
gonna mention her name, but.
You know what? There's more bad ones than good ones. Probably
Yeah.
way more bad ones than
Well,
good ones.
yeah, she was busy on the golf course by the next day.
So I'm gonna finish this up real quick so that we can get to all the questions. So this blue paper has mitigation standards. It's expensive to do the mitigation standards on your house. But I'm also gonna tell you that if you get non-renewed because you didn't do them, you'll have to do them to get the next person to insure you. What's the most important part about the mitigation standards? The fact that you're not losing your home. You lose your home, you lose a few years of your life navigating all this. You're traumatized. You've lost all your personal items that you've accumulated over the years. They can't take your memories, but the things that would spur your memories on. You never go back to the exact same house you have, so you have to make it a home again. And all of this takes an effect on your mental health and your physical health. So if you bear that in mind, it becomes a lot more important to make sure your house doesn't burn down as opposed to anything else. We have to give these firefighters a chance to get ahead of these fires. And if we don't slow them down, they're not going to be able to. Renter's insurance. I know that nobody in here is a renter. And I'm okay with, perfect. So renter's insurance, you all know people who either are living in your home or living in someone else's home or have their own. Renter's insurance, I'm going to say, is a great Christmas present. It might come early this year. Generally, it's about $2 Starbucks a month, to put it in perspective, okay? In that policy, there will be a dollar figure for their contents, which will get deducted from wear and tear, all that kind of stuff. You won't get full value, but it will be enough to get you first and deposit into a new place and get you started on the road to recovery. There's also some loss of use in that policy, and you want as much as you can get. That will pay for you to be out of your home, whether it's because there's a disaster happening right then, whether you're just evacuated. If your power's shut off for a week, you can charge for all your contents of your refrigerator that were lost. I think that it'll pay for your hotel room and an increase in your food costs because you're eating out. those kind of things. I think that a gentleman in one of my presentations said it perfectly. He said, I have 2 adult children who are renters. So basically, in a nutshell, I need to buy them renter's insurance so they don't move into with me when they have loss. Renter's insurance helps everybody in this room out. Because once you get to a long-term recovery, renters are the ones that are falling through the cracks, have the immediate needs, and need help immediately. They need cash, they need a place to live. And so a lot of the recovery dollars go to that instead of to bringing homeowners back home, bridging those gaps. So this is really important. Buy someone renter's insurance. Gift them that. And that's my presentation. I have some tips for the end, but I know you guys are scrambling for questions and
Patrick has a few things to share too.
yeah, Patrick might want to like.
Okay, no, I could talk all day.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind mosquitoes, can I open the door and just let you?
Yeah. Yeah. I got things to say, definitely, but I like to usually start. Is there anything anybody wants to get out of the way? They've got a question that's bothering them that they want answered, or, so you're sitting there, yeah.
After the Valley Fire, State Farm assigned an adjuster. Then that adjuster left and another adjuster and another adjuster. And there were 3 or 4 adjusters. And I had to start the process over again and explain it. Why did they take the adjusters off the job? And they come from different
do that?
states.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there's now a law, and it's put in place for State Farm, that once you've had 3 adjusters, the next one has to be a solid point of contact. You need to, every conversation you have with your adjuster, you need to follow up with an email capturing what was discussed. So you don't start over, so you don't have to re-navigate,
I don't record the conversation because there's so much information.
Well, I wouldn't record it just because you could come into some legal issues. You could record it for yourself
Right.
and then transcribe. I believe that might be okay. Not sure, but you just, they put that in place on purpose. Someone in my fire had 19 adjusters. And then in the Marshall fire, we had a guy who would come on our webinars and he had 17, and he was quite proud of that he had navigated 17, and we kept having to tell him that he wasn't the winner because 19 was the winner. But yeah, it's a challenge and it's not right.
That's horrifying.
Mentioning that they're from out of state too.
Well, it kind of, but the out-of-state adjusters for these catastrophes, they are some of the best trained adjusters you can work with. That's all they do is adjust these large, crazy losses, right? Our team with the Valley Fire, Farmers by far the most adjusters and the quickest in any company out there. Plug for Farmers, we had over 100 adjusters here for that fire. As an agent, I'll tell you, I'm the agent I am, and maybe this is part of the thing, is because like I mentioned, my in-laws had a fire right up the road here, Gifford Springs Road, and probably about 97, and they went through some things, but their agent was a local farmer's agent, was there for them from the second it happened. The day their home burned, he had a rental set up for them. He had beds being delivered from them. It was right there. Farmers was right there. Several years later, I'm looking at changing careers. I was a manager for Safeway, and my father-in-law come home.
Sorry.
I know.
I used to work for Safeway.
And that's funny you said. I agree. Anyway, and so my father-in-law come home one day and said, "Hey, I was talking to my agent. He says you should become an insurance agent, a farmer's agent. He knows you think you're good." So from the day I became an agent, I looked at how he treated them and their experience with their claim, and modeled everything I do after that, going, you have to be here for people. This is their time of need. No ifs, ands, or buts. And we do that today. So I go my first 15 years of my career, and you might get a little thing here or there, I mean, my first month in Lake County, I had inherited some policies from another agent. And this is stuff I'll tell you, good agents, bad agents, right? And I got a lady, I'm reviewing her stuff. And she's telling me about, oh yeah, 8 years ago, we had a fire, we came up pretty good though. The only thing we had to pay for was to replace our upper cabinets. So, well, what do you mean you had to pay to replace your upper cabinets? Well, the other, or the maybe it was the lower ones, I'm sorry, because the upper ones burned and the lower ones were fine, but they didn't match the new ones. And she said, we want them to match. I said, they didn't pay for that? She said, no, it cost us $8,000. Well, even then, you're past all the statutes on that claim. But I looked at her, I said, do me a favor, get me your receipts, get me a claim number, you can find all that. And she did. And within 2 weeks, we had to reimburse for all that money. Because our policy says it's basically get you back. And if we can't match your cabinets, you can't have mismatched cabinets. They should have replaced the lowers, right? And so even that kind of stuff, at least with farmers, and it may be different nowadays, things are tightening up with all these companies. But even then, we went back to 8 years later, after they didn't have to pay her a penny, and they paid her. So
I have to say that whenever anybody calls me to ask about Firewise and insurance and stuff like that, and if I can't answer the question, and I say, well, I know you need to get a new agent, and I don't know who all the good agents are, but I know this one, I always send them to you. So
Oh,
if you've been getting phone
thank you.
calls,
Nice.
Thank you.
that's because.
No,
Is
thanks.
Farmers Insurance insuring in Lake County? Because I was told they weren't.
You were told by who? Your next door neighbor or an insurance agent?
I mean, she dropped my policy.
Oh, okay. So, because I hear this, like I had a kid who inherited a house from his grandfather, and 2 months before the Valley Fire, it burned to the ground, and I sat and talked to this kid in tears. He lost everything, his house, everything, because his next door neighbor told him he couldn't get insurance. And it just frustrates me. Do not take advice from somebody that is not a licensed insurance agent.
This is a licensed
Okay,
insurance.
no, that's fine. But I'm just saying in general, that stuff, because that's the stuff that's crazy.
Well, I mean,
If it was a farmer's agent,
It was farmers, I
Well,
wanted to renew.
She was non-renewed.
okay, non-renewed, so that's different. So are we writing in Lake County? Yes. Are we writing everywhere in Lake County? Heck no. Are we writing a full-blown homeowner policy in Lake County? In some areas no. But one way or another, if you want a policy with farmers, we will take your money, we will write you a home policy. It may be a DIC policy, the difference in conditions. It may be a full-blown policy. It just depends. Farmers is writing it in Lake County. Okay, they are writing in Lake County. It's a matter, again, your agent, how hard they want to work, what they want to push, what they want to check.
Fair plan now.
Okay,
It's a rental property though.
okay, and even that's different. So for the last 2 years, farmers didn't write a regular full-blown landlord policy, but last month they started again, and we're moving stuff over because, again, Department of Insurance drives me nuts, some of the regulation, because some of it's ridiculous. But farmers had to shut down their policy because Foremost, our other company we own, had another policy that we'd write, and they didn't want us having 2 different products and all this. So we spent 2 years where we couldn't even write a farmer's, and now they're converting everything over to Foremost, which is a farmer's company. So there's a lot of different things.
Check with my agent again.
Or this guy.
Or I don't know who your agent is, but
Mezzanine.
oh God, run! I'm not saying that. Anyway, there's agents that do things because they have to, or because it's easy and they want a paycheck, or to make themselves look good. I'm not that guy. Okay, I want to get paid. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to do what's in your best interest. And if it's you and me sitting down and calling USAA to get you a better policy, we're going to do that. I'm not going to, if I can't be the best agent for you and give you what's best for you, you're not doing business with me. And I'm dead serious when I say that.
Where's your office?
I'm in like work right across the street, grocery outlet on Main Street. But that's how every agent, I can give you other agents' names that would do that, the same thing I would for you, but they're far and few between. And so we've got other companies. Everything I write is not with farmers. I'll tell you that right now. And farmers may not be happy to hear that. But I'm also not going to give you a policy that's twice the price of farmers if it's something that's better or just as good for you. I mean, there are other like we found out one of the DICs was one of the companies we thought was great, and then we realized, oh yeah, but they limit water damage to, I think it was $5,000. Well, that's great because you know what? You're buying the DIC for water coverage, not for fire. You need to have that coverage. That policy is virtually useless. So I won't sell that policy, right? So that's the stuff. And again, if you don't have an OCD anal agent, they don't know those things. They do not know these things. I guarantee you, every other farmer's agent alone in the county, and I'm dead serious with that, do not know the details of your policies. Okay, they do not know them. I read them. I'm a weirdo. Okay, I do. And you're going to call me and ask me about coverage, and I will not give you an answer unless I absolutely know, or I've gone back and talked to an adjuster or read the policy. And that's what you need in an agent. Okay, don't make crap up and tell people stuff. It just because you know what it's going to hurt is when you have a claim, and it's the worst time possible. So, I mean, we did it 2 weeks before the Valley Fire. Again, my company's just as guilty as anybody else of this crap. They sneak things in their policies that we don't know, right? I'm doing a review with somebody to find out smoke damage 2 weeks before the Valley Fire was reduced to, if you're within so far from the fire and you just have smoke damage, unless there's charring on your house physically, they limited it to like a few $1,000s coverage. That's great, but you just had smoke blowing all over the inside of your house for a week, right?
And it's not just smoke. They're dealing with this in LA like crazy.
Okay.
It's lead, asbestos, arsenic, but he's absolutely right, the
and so-
physical damage.
So my first thing is when I noticed this, I'm like, holy crap, you can't do this. I'm calling adjusters. I called the head of California State for farmers. I'm not going to stop because I'm not getting an answer. What the hell is this? Why are you doing this? Right? And they explained to me, well, we got these attorneys in Colorado, these areas, these houses are miles away, and they're filing these lawsuits because they want money, basically. This attorney shows up at your door and says, hey, I can get you money for this. So that's what they were trying to avoid. But the way they did it and delivered it was wrong, and they didn't think about it. So now 2 weeks later, the Valley Fire hits. And by the way, I told a company the story today. I moved into my home the weekend before the Valley Fire here. Okay, the house had sat empty for a couple of years. We left Thursday morning to go to a college graduation in San Diego. What did I do? I left every damn window in my house open when I left. Okay, so now I was already questioning it. Now I'm like, holy crap! I've got wood walls. How are we going to deal with this? Redwood walls. So now I'm really going, this is wrong. And I was before because I already made calls. At one point, I was told to shut my mouth and see what happens and see how it goes. And then I finally had a talk with somebody that I thought I was going to get myself fired over because I made a comment to an adjuster. One of two things is going to happen. Either there's going to be a huge class action suit over this, or somebody's going to go to the media and make us look absolutely horrible. And I guarantee you at that point, I will no longer be a farmer's agent. And this went from the adjuster to the head of claims to the CEO of the company, who that weekend somehow got my cell phone and left me a voicemail when I had no cell service. And now I'm coming into town on Monday and my phone is blowing up with calls from every company person you could think of. Well, I hate to say it, but I think I got it fixed. I mean, they changed the way they did it. They cover things. They've taken that out of the policy now. I mean, maybe there's other people, but I know I thought I was going to be fired at one point because when the Western Zone guy called me, I said, first of all, I know you guys record every damn call. How dare you call me without having all the facts and not listening to my call? So I said, if you listen to the call, I told the adjuster that somebody could do that and it could happen. I did not say that Pat Lambert was going to do this. And if you find something different, please call me and terminate me. And if not, you owe me an apology. Well, guess what? I never got a phone call and nothing ever happened. So anyway, so that's the stuff I'm just saying. You know, my own company, they do these things and they realize, okay, this might have been a mistake. But you have to have the agent that's going to fight that and fix that for you. And there's too many agents, whether it's State Farm, Farmers, they'll just say, leave it to your adjuster. I'm not that guy. I've driven over by Sonora for a fire. I met with the adjuster and people. I mean, and that's what I'd ask my agent. You're going to interview your damn agent. Interview them. If this happens, what is the process? What do you do for me? How are you gonna help me? I learned so much. Up until 15, we sat here and I had no idea how good my company was. I kind of knew because my in-laws, but I really didn't know. Am I with the right company? Are they a great company? Because I never had anything that big to deal with. The second, go ahead.
Drones.
They're allowed.
So a drone will look at your house.
Yeah.
And what if a tree is too close to the house?
They might ask you to cut it down.
Yeah.
But what if they don't and there's a loss? Can they say, oh, we have a
No,
record?
no, they have to warn you.
Yeah.
They have to warn you. It's just like people call me, hey, my tree fell on my neighbor's house. I need to file a claim my insurance. No, you don't. Were you aware the tree was a problem? Did anybody notify you the tree is a problem? No, their insurance covers it. Unless there's something specific that you did that you're completely negligent and didn't do anything. If they tell you 6 times to cut it down, maybe, right? But no, they're not going to just look at your house and not tell you what you need to do and then hold you accountable. They can't do that.
But if you do get notice that you have problems at your house because they did take satellite photography, whatever, you want to ask for that picture. Because they have been known here and there to have the wrong house.
Neighbor's house, Google Earth that's 10 years old.
Yeah, so,
We had a house we wrote that needed a brand new roof when we wrote it, and they knew it. We got the exception. We'll give them till next year to get a new roof on it. 2 months later, they put a new roof on it. And we gave them all that, and they put notes in there and fixed it. And guess what? Another 6 months later, we get a note saying they're canceling the policy because it needs a new roof. And we got these pictures. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We've already done this. Number one, where's your pictures? Oh, well, those are 7-year-old pictures that you guys didn't even pay attention to everything else. So just because you get a notice saying that you need this done or there's a problem, it doesn't 100% necessarily mean there is. You need to get investigated more and ask for proof and ask them to show you and all that. Because some things have been remedied already. And so, yeah, as far as that.
now,
So we could go on for hours
We
on
could.
insurance.
Yeah.
we could,
We're a little over time, actually, we're well over time. The next,
Oh, I had more. Okay.
the next session is on how we're going to pay, or how we're going to have the capacity to work on our landscape, because as you all know, money's involved, or that there's at least some exchange of value that has to happen, because you can't just keep putting out without getting something back. So that's going to be the next topic. It's going to be for everybody. So we're gonna open all the doors and we're gonna invade over there.
Okay. Can I say one little thing?
Yeah,
though?
but if you have
Say
questions,
California Fair Plan is not necessarily a bad thing.
yes.
And you made me cringe, like, because I hear it every damn day, calling it the unfair plan.
that's
I
what they
wanna know-
call it.
I know, but I want to know which one of you guys is willing to take your bank account, and
Right,
I'm going to give you $100 a month, and you're going to insure my house, and you're going to take on, because nobody
Right.
wants it, nobody.
right,
So keep that in mind.
absolutely.
They are risking so much, and we're just thankful we can get in some of these areas. So I know it's expensive, but
It almost reminds me of like back in the early 2000s when we had to do state funds.
Yep.
For workers'
Yeah.
comp, because all the
Yep.
carriers pulled out, and that's all
Yeah.
it was for the next 7 or 8
Absolutely.
years until they reintroduced it again, and
Yeah.
that seems like
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen.
well, I feel like at some point rates will get better.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, we're a
Thank you, Annie.
nonprofit.
They're nonprofit.
Yeah. We help people navigate their insurance after disaster, and we do a lot of preparedness.
Have your next
Thank you
cover.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks for being a good agent.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just-
I may call you because